Thanks very much, Brady. So the price of oil has been incrementally going up recently, and we can argue about whether we're actually hitting peak oil yet, but one thing's for sure, on a global stage, natural gas is becoming more and more important. So in the US, until recently, we actually thought that we were running out of natural gas reserves and that we're going to become an importer of natural gas. But then suddenly things started to change and a lot more reserves were found, and it's starting to change the energy environment domestically. So why has this happened? Well, one of the reasons is because all over the US, there are these shale deposits, which are this sedimentary rock that's very hard, but it contains natural gas. And these have been known about for quite a long time. But just recently, we've actually developed the technology to actually extract that gas. So the way that this happens is that they drill down, and then they have this technology to drill horizontally up to a mile through this layer of shale that bears the gas. And then it's about 100 feet thick. But then they actually put down these high-pressure fluids which can crack open the shale and make all these fissures that will allow the gas to come out in commercial quantities. So in Pennsylvania, where this is really happening a lot, there's been a huge boom in the drilling for natural gas. Up to 2,500 wells have been drilled in the last 5 years. And so this has caused a lot of consternation with these small towns being overrun by contractors' vehicles and lots of concern about the environment because there's been spills into the water with natural gas coming into the water. And so there's probably going to be a bunch of legislation about that. So this has actually caused a big drop in the price of natural gas around the US, even though the economy has been recovering, with natural gas actually becoming cheaper than oil for the same kind of energy content. In some ways, this is actually quite good because compared to all the other fossil fuels, natural gas releases less carbon dioxide when you actually burn it, which means that there's kind of a tendency to migrate now towards using natural gas for electricity generation rather than coal because it has half as much CO2 produced. But it's not totally an answer to global warming here because it's still a fossil fuel, so we're still releasing this CO2 into the environment that has been stored in the ground for a long time. But also, on the international stage, natural gas is being traded more and more around the world. And the way they do this is they cool it down till it liquefies, and then they can put it on these big tanker ships and move it around the world in the same way that oil is traded. And so there's been like a huge growth recently in LNG ships being built all over. And in fact, there's somewhat of a bubble as they've been building too many ships and there's not enough ports for them all. So on the East Coast of America, they actually had a lot of LNG import terminals that were constructed, but then with the price of natural gas falling a lot, these are standing empty. So various people had been looking into retrofitting these terminals for export by building refrigeration to make this LNG and put it on ships to move it out to China and to Japan and to emerging markets. So another thing that's actually coming of age is the gas-to-liquids technology. So the idea is that you can take natural gas, or in fact any form of carbon like coal or biomass, and then convert it into syngas, an intermediate, and then into regular transport fuels. And a number of different companies are starting up really huge projects to do this now that gas is cheaper. So, for example, Shell have been building this enormous Pearl GTL project in Qatar, and basically takes the gas that's coming out of the offshore rigs there and converts it into transport fuel. And this is actually almost as large as Seattle, this building site, which is now completed. So all this is causing a bit of a problem for renewable fuels going forward because of the cheap fossil fuel, and also because there's recently been loss of subsidies as Congress has dropped the subsidies a couple of years ago. So they're going to find it hard to actually compete. So you can find out more about me and read a fuller transcript of this talk on my website. Thank you very much.